I'm working with the Chamber of Commerce to visit with and interview our candidates for the hospital board this morning. And this morning I have Mike Dugan with me. Mike, thanks for coming in and
thanks for having
spending some time with us. And
absolutely.
We're going to ask a few questions of you, give you the opportunity to tell people a little bit about yourself and where you stand on these various issues that we have.
Perfect.
So the first question I have is, should the hospital continue to grow and expand its physical plant despite reduced revenue projections?
Well, as a current board trustee, we've actually, what we're talking about probably that's been through the debates here is the inpatient remodel that we've actually been working on for a better part of 3 years of planning and budgeting for it. The money is there. The inpatient remodel, the floor we're speaking about was, I think, last constructed in the 1980s. There's lots of inefficiencies there. And it's going to better serve the patients of Campbell County and the employees as well. And over time, with the new efficiencies and the technologies that's going to provide with this remodel, it's going to start paying for itself. The money's there for it. We've budgeted for this and planned this to be a 2 to 5 phase project. So the money's not going to be spent all at once. It'll be spread out throughout the project, which could take a number of years. We constantly have to invest in our physical plant. There's going to be some smaller remodels in the future. We have to keep investing in our infrastructure. We just can't let that go. And that being said, we've also understand with the local economy right now that times are tough. We've planned for this. We've cut 2 major projects out with the new parking garage structure and the walk-in clinic that's supposed to be south of town that is going to save about $12 million. They're not going to be completely cut. The plans are there, put in a drawer for a rainy day if things ever turn a few years down the road that they might be put back on the plate. But for right now, this inpatient remodel will be the last major project so far for the near future.
All right. Do you have any conflict of interest in serving on the hospital board? And if so, how would you deal with that conflict of interest issue might it occur? I
personally have no conflict of interest. In 2012, when I first got elected onto the board, you do receive extensive legal training as far as conflict of interest from legal counsel, and you also have to fill out a conflict of interest disclosure that's filed and you sign off on. Absolutely, if anything factual was to come about a conflict of interest with the board member, we absolutely would do our due diligence with that and take the appropriate action needed.
Okay, so I'm going to veer off just a minute to follow up on that question with, you don't have any conflict of interest, but currently serving on the board, how would you deal with somebody that might have a conflict of interest? If
anything, nothing has ever factual in the 4 years have come out as far as anybody, if anything was factual to come out of any claims and due diligence was done, I mean, there's processes as far as actions through our legal counsel that can be taken, and we absolutely would.
Okay. All right. What healthcare specialties still remain needed in the community, and what role should the hospital play in the recruitment of those?
Well, I think at the top of everybody's list, or near the top, is primary care. Through physician recruitment and retention, we have a demand tool that's updated every 2 years that an independent third party comes through and tells us what specialties we may need and how many for each specialties, that physicians for each specialty for the community. And we have extensive recruiting processes that are through the recruitment and retention committee. It's a tough problem. It's a nationwide problem to recruit, especially for a rural hospital. But we do think we have a good plan in place with incentives and packages and the infrastructure and the staff that we have to be enticing for a prospective physician to move here.
Okay. And do you support the physicians working for the hospital directly?
As far as a new one coming, that's also a process that we have in place through recruitment and retention, that if a prospective doctor was recruited and moved to town, they have 3 options through the plan that we have. They can either become employed with the hospital, they can work in an existing private practice, or they can go out on a private practice on their own. We encourage them you know, all three options, whatever option they choose, we fully support them because that's what's best for the residents of Campbell County to have that specialty that's needed in the community, whether they're employed or private practice.
So does the hospital encourage them to go one way or the other on that?
When they're in recruitment, they have those three options, so it's completely up to them, and they're not steered in any direction. They get to meet with employed physicians, they get to meet with the private practice physicians, and they get to pick where they're most comfortable.
Okay, good. And then I guess my last question then is, Mike, how would you differentiate yourself from your opposing candidates in this race?
Sure, I have the experience. I've served on the board since 2012, the last 2 years as vice chair, and the year before that as treasurer. So 3 out of my first 4 years on the board I've served as an officer. Another DFEH, I grew up in Campbell County, went to high school here, went to University of Wyoming, graduated in 2003 with a degree in finance. I've been in the banking industry since 2004 and currently a vice president, commercial loan officer with a local financial institution. Now is not the time with the changing healthcare. It's going to be a rough, probably 4 or 5 years nationally on the healthcare level. Being on a hospital board as a trustee, it's probably at least a 2-year learning curve. And now's not the time for someone inexperienced. We have a great thing going at CCH right now with all the cultural changes that we've made with excellence every day. Our patient quality is up, our survey scores are up for patient quality and for employee satisfaction. Just walking throughout the walls, you can just see how happy everybody is to work there, and that builds up with customer satisfaction as well. So I believe in the mission, the vision of CCH. I got the experience to get us through the next 4 or 5 years of the challenging times that are ahead. So.
All right. Well, thank you for your service thus far, Mike.
Appreciate
I know
it.
It takes a lot of time, and we all work full time and have these as voluntary positions for the most part. So thank you for your time and
Appreciate
service
that.
on that, and good luck on your race.
Thank you.
Yep.